One of the most memorable times I've ever had in a Portland cafe was also very accidental.
Okay.
My brother was heading off to work and he was like, Allen Ginsberg I just heard on the radio, Allen Ginsberg signing books at Powell's downtown.
No way.
So we go to Powell's Books, stand in line, I got all these books, I put them in front, I finally get to Ginsberg, I put him down, he signs all of them, and I don't remember, I say something like, God, I think you're really amazing, you know.
Just fanned out on him.
Fanned out, and he looks up at me and he goes, how's your sex life?
My name is Jason Johnson.
Do we have to call them gas station people?
Everyone calls me Double J. I'm the co-owner of Black Rabbit Service Company, and I've been in coffee my whole working life. I want to know what makes people excited about coffee. What better place to start than where so many of us get our coffee every day? Cafes.
So what is the perfect cafe?
It's hard for me to say like what the perfect cafe is because I have stuff that I like about old cafes, modern cafes, and everything in between. I'm here for all of it.
To help me out, I thought we could talk to somebody with a unique perspective.
Look what people leave around.
This charming character is my friend
People don't care.
and native Portlander, the poet, Matthew Dickman.
And we walk into La Patisserie packed with people who had been at the book signing. And we just ended up having this amazing time drinking black coffee. Alan was drinking tea. People ordered.
I think Matthew and I share a romantic notion of the old-style coffee houses. It's the kind of coffee shop my parents owned when I was a kid, and the kind where Matthew spent a lot of time in his formative years.
That felt like life in Portland at the time.
Wow.
An old cafe
Yeah.
you could walk into, and some cool, amazing thing might be happening.
But that's not to say that we don't also love what's happening with more modern coffee shops.
Like where I bumped into you at Upper Left the other day, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like that's a very modern, new-looking
Oh
cafe.
man, you could either have coffee and like a really fancy bagel there, or you could operate on someone.
I don't know how I feel about espresso and surgery in the same space, but I do know that what's happening over at Upper Left Roasters is really something special. And a lot of that is the reflection of the owner, Catherine Harris. Catherine and I both grew up with parents who own coffee shops.
My mom and dad started Food and Bloom Catering in Portland about 40 years ago.
Very familiar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever have
I worked on their stuff all the time, yeah.
Oh yeah, duh.
Yeah.
You worked on their equipment.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then they also started the daily cafes as well.
Yeah.
And
I probably always knew I would end up working in coffee, but Catherine took a more scenic route on her way to cafe ownership.
yeah, school, majored in finance, and then I
Finance.
worked in finance.
Okay.
Yeah. And,
So your plan wasn't to like study finance and then
no.
go open a coffee shop?
No, I'm not gonna do what my parents were doing.
Right.
I have to like make my own name and like have my own identity. And
Well, you're doing it.
yeah, I mean, I still think I'm still kind of fighting creating my own identity and like
Sure.
not being in the shadow kind of my parents.
Yeah. Now my parents would kill me if I told them I was opening a restaurant or a coffee shop, but
Would you?
that's, I don't know.
I mean, you've seen
It's
it
so
all,
much- I've
like,
seen
you've
it
seen
all.
it
I've
all.
seen too much, probably. Thank you so much. This looks amazing. So Portland for so long was it was coffee bars. Like
Yeah.
you're right, like coffee and pastry. That was it, right? And,
Yeah.
And maybe you could get a grab and go sandwich or something like that. But
Yeah.
no one was really doing food.
So yeah, I think with food too, like what we're doing is trying to build like a community, and people go to coffee shops to meet over coffee.
Right.
But food gives them another reason to come in and like meet for lunch or share a meal.
They can stay a little
together.
longer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. People were shocked that we were even doing what we were doing. They're like, another roaster in
Right.
Portland. It was almost like, the beer thing.
Totally.
It's like, we were way too saturated.
And how many have started since like there's hundreds of roasters. in this
Hundreds.
town.
Well, and it's like, in Portland, you have a shared space for roasting.
Oh yeah, Buckman,
down at
just down the
Buckman.
street. Yeah.
Let me jump in here for a quick word about roasting, and maybe we'll even visit Buckman Coffee Factory.
Back in the day, you would just find a roaster, buy their beans, throw it in your hopper and that's what you were serving. Now, most people, when they're opening a shop, they jump right to roasting because they have access to equipment and they have access to knowledge.
In Portland, the place providing that access is Buckman Coffee Factory. Buckman is an incredible resource for the Portland coffee community. They provide access to coffee roasting equipment as well as education and classes on all things coffee. On our visit, we were hosted by my good buddy Cole. Cole's a roaster herself, and after a quick rundown of the Buckman roasting process, she treated us to a private cupping. So what is a cupping? Funny you should ask. For those of you who haven't been to one, a cupping is the formal way to taste and rate coffee. We'll dive deeper into cupping in another episode, but for now, here's a little taste. See what I did there with taste? In any case, our next cafe owner is the perfect example of how Buckman has proved itself an invaluable resource for the Portland coffee scene.
What was it like getting into roasting? Because I'm talking about getting into Buckman and I'm saying that's a good thing, but is it a good thing? Was it?
Buckman is amazing. I mean, I will say one thing about the city is if you want to do something, there's usually somebody who's down to show you.
This is Ian Williams, owner and operator of Deadstock Coffee. Tucked away in Portland's Old Town Chinatown neighborhood, Deadstock is a truly unique experience.
Ian's shop is like an anomaly to me. It's like its own special little thing. I think he's done a really good job of creating something new in the Portland coffee scene.
Hold on, what did you want?
Can I get Americano?
Man, can I get a hot chocolate? Yep. Yeah, we out here. The idea was to make the coffee snob and the sneaker homie friends because we love premium things.
The word community comes up a lot when we talk about cafes, and I think what Ian has created is a prime example of why that is.
The idea was just to connect people.
That's what a cafe is all about, right? It's like just bringing a community together. It's
sure.
it's a rallying point, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, when I had the opportunity or when I had the idea to open up the coffee shop, this was the area where I talked to people about it. And this is where I get my validation, and this is the community that I love and support. They support me.
Yeah.
And this neighborhood isn't necessarily always the most pretty neighborhood. While I say that, there is a siren. You know what I'm saying?
One thing is clear when you talk to Ian. He has a genuine connection with the community around Deadstock and the people in it.
We don't have very much problems with people because we actually take the time to talk to the community when things happen. When people come in and they're like, all right, give me a cup of coffee. I'm like, let me explain to you what it means for me to give you a cup of coffee.
Right.
And what that means for everybody else who's waiting in line, who's paying, what that means for my team.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a cup of coffee this time, but remember this.
Right. And they hear that, you think? People
They do. They really do. And I think it just becomes like you respect me and I'll respect you.
Right.
And it just becomes a respect thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, I often say people who are experiencing whatever it might be, sometimes people might be yelling about something, and I feel like that's where that person got stuck.
Right.
And whatever it is where they just were not being heard last.
That's great.
So sometimes you just kind of listen and you're like, that does suck.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened. But
next time,
don't poop on my door.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There's no shortage of amazing cafes in Portland, but there are plenty of gems in the suburbs that are well worth a visit. We took a quick drive north across the Columbia River to chat with one of my favorite cafe owners. Phuong Tran is the owner-operator of Lava Java and a local legend in my book. Phuong's coffee journey started out a little different than my own, and that's putting it mildly.
So I was born in Vietnam, and I didn't immigrate to the United States until I was 9.
Oh, okay.
So my mom, single widow mom, took 8 children and immigrated to the United States.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Whole nother story how we immigrated here, but
Sure.
I'll tell you that down the road
Another
sometime.
time, sure.
Trust me, it's an amazing story. You'll have to ask her about it next time you're in for coffee. Fast forward to 2002, where Phuong's family had made a home in the Portland suburbs. Working a job in IT, Phuong heard about an opportunity.
Yeah, it was more like an investment on the side.
Right.
And I thought it would be fun, And so I had no experience in coffee.
Okay.
And I had no experience in owning a business. So when I tell my story, I was like, I
great
don't
combination.
ever recommend this to anybody, but
hard.
like I did it, so I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I bought the coffee shop and I kept the entire crew.
The scarcity of resources and information available at the time only seemed to drive Phuong's obsession with coffee further down the rabbit hole.
The first year was so critical to me. Like I dove in and I was like, okay, I know nothing about coffee.
gotta learn
better,
everything.
yeah. And back then there was no YouTube videos, there was nothing online. And I'm a type of person, like, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna go for it. Like,
You're all in.
I'm all in.
Yeah.
So I wake up, I come and I open the coffee shop with my staff.
And so were you still working your IT job at this point?
Yes, yeah. I mean, there
How did
were
you manage
days
that?
I just had like 4 hours of sleep. I did that for like 3 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I was young and naive, but the thing is, like, coffee was drawing me and I was so fascinated. It was like a whole new world to me. Like, I was like, I didn't know all this thing existed. I didn't know that there was like this little network of people that are like super passionate about
It has
coffee.
a built-in community, right?
Yeah, and so I was just like getting really absorbed into it and getting pulled into it, and it was fascinating. Like, everything I learned, I loved.
Right.
And I started competing also.
Yeah, you heard that right. Barista competitions are a very real thing in the coffee world, and we'll dive into that another time. For now, what you need to know is
I won that year, and I was like, what?
You took first.
Yeah.
In the US.
2005 in the US.
Wow.
it's clear that even after all her years in coffee, Phuong's passion for the industry and the people working in it still shines through.
There's a younger generation that
Yes.
are interested in coffee like how we were back in 2002.
Right.
Yeah, and they're gravitating towards coffee shops like this.
Yeah, I get really excited about like the younger folks getting into coffee
Yeah.
and like that excitement, I can see it starting it all over again, and like they're bringing new ideas and new thoughts into the industry, and I think it's only going to push it forward.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting for me. It's a labor of love.
It's a labor of love.
right, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's why we all
Yeah.
do this, right?
But if you enjoy it, it doesn't seem like it's labor, right?
Right.
That's like 20 years ago by, and I was like, I'm still loving
Yeah.
this. Like, this is so fun,
Yeah, when I think long enough about it, that's the truth. Yeah.
right?
Back in Portland, we made our way to the Fresh Pot, where I sat down for a coffee with the owner and operator, my longtime friend Vin.
The Fresh Pot is like on my list of must-visit coffee shops for everyone.
You've been doing this for 25 years now, almost, right?
Yeah, like
years?
Fresh Pot for, that
25?
almost that long.
When I first moved to Portland, I gravitated to places like the Fresh Pot.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
It helped me build a sense of community and stability in a new city.
One of my first introductions to the Fresh Pot was I played in a band, and we actually practiced in a house like 2 blocks from here. And so we would come here, get a coffee, we'd go to the little corner store and get our beer, and like we'd go into the basement for hours. But like that was my introduction to the Fresh Pot. That was probably 2003.
Yeah, that's like, our first year, basically.
Even after all these years, you can still find Vin working behind the espresso machine and making drinks for the Fresh Pot's loyal regulars.
You're behind the bar quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At least
for
a couple days a week.
for an
sure.
owner, you're back there a lot. Yeah, absolutely.
It is funny. People come in and it's like, whoa, we got you behind the counter. I'm like, yeah.
It's normal.
I remember, I knew how to do this.
You never stopped. That's
Yeah, I
great.
never got out of practice, and I enjoy it. I love making drinks still.
Yeah.
And like the people that come in have been coming in for. Some people from even from '96 or '97 are still coming in. It's like
That's amazing.
family.
Yeah, absolutely.
You hear people say that, and you're like, really? No, really.
It really is.
I've seen little kids grow up.
Yeah, exactly.
People who've met here have gotten married, stuff like that.
So
like.
cool.
I want like the 75-year-old grandfather or the hip young couple. Kind of want everyone
them.
in mixing together.
Yeah.
We want we love making our espresso, but we'll make you an oat milk chai
whatever fancy drink you'd like.
Yeah, like with no judgment.
Right.
There's no like.
And it's gonna be delicious.
Yeah. No snooty.
Right.
Like try to be like kind of open to everyone.
It's abundantly clear to me that the Fresh Pot is a beacon of support and community for anyone who comes in.
No pretentiousness.
No pretentious. No twisty mustaches.
Right.
Yeah, like when we started up on Hawthorne, the first shop, it was the opposite of the classic case of Starbucks comes in. Starbucks was already there on the corner on 37th.
Yeah.
And we came in and we were able to survive because people were like, ooh, an option besides the big green monster or whatever.
I worked for Seattle's Best Coffee back in the day. That was my first
This cuddly lumberjack is my business partner, Alex Lambert.
We were at that time kind of the anti-Starbucks, and so people would come in and just talk shit on Starbucks all the time. And we're like, okay, well, that's cool. It's red, I guess. Instead of green, but
It's exactly opposite, right?
Yeah,
on purpose.
Totally. But it was that would have been like '97, and at that time they were like actually given there was like a 5-day long training period where we had to like learn where coffee comes from and how it's grown and how it's processed and all those kind of things. And for me, that's what really got me into coffee.
And I think there's room for everyone in this industry. I think like I donned the green apron for a little while, and anytime someone tells me they're looking for someone and they have this person and there's Starbucks on their resume, I'm like, you should hire that person.
Yeah.
2 of my best employees are from Starbucks.
And there's appreciation there. Like when someone's like, "Oh, Starbucks, right? You hate them." I'm like, actually,
I'm like, I don't.
I never talk.
We don't exist without them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you like it, go get it.
We were talking about sort of how we got into coffee, and a lot of what drew me in early on was sort of that sort of counterculture artistic side of things. And I think when we broke out, that's something that we wanted to like continue culturally. Like, I like to have rad shirts that are our friends who drew them, or fun stickers that we can like bring in artists and bring in the coffee community, or people even outside of the coffee community that are just sort of tangential fans of coffee.
You guys have, you had some design in the family, so I think a lot of people see whenever we have like stickers or whatever, people are like, man, what is that? I'm like, well, actually they're just fixed equipment.
That's just,
you know what I'm saying?
Nobody.
Coffee is an art too. Like what we do is an art. So we capture those artists where, if they call themselves an artist, they gravitate towards coffee shops. So
such a good point.
Just hang out and do some poetry readings.
We get into the most random stuff. We are really into laser tag.
Where do you go? What's your
Super play.
I haven't been to Super Play.
Oh yeah. Oh, you trying to play laser tag?
Anytime.
Nori. This dude say he trying to play laser tag.
I'm gonna do one of these in case they want one of those.